Gentlemen, welcome back to another video. In this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you my thoughts on why women from certain countries, such as Ukraine, make the perfect wives. And it's not what you think. Okay, so we've all seen the masses of videos or read the articles that are out there online that say that the Ukrainian women make the perfect wives. They're caring, they're understanding, they stick by their man, they're the perfect mothers, they're feminine. And if you're anything like me, that's hugely appealing. I'm somebody that appreciates traditional values, traditional women, and traditional relationships. So the question to ask is, why is that still present over there, but in the West, it's gone, it's out the door, it's not even a thing anymore. And until you actually experience going over to Ukraine and actually sort of experiencing that for yourself, you are completely oblivious to it. And if you suggest it to anybody, they call you a chauvinistic pig. Last week I was having lunch with some friends of mine and I started to talk about how in Ukraine there are traditional values and the woman they want the man to be the man, the woman wants to have her role, the man wants to have his role. And I just explained it kind of casually, and one of my friend's wives said, well, that's just chauvinistic pigs. That's just the poor attitude. And I said, hang on a second, if their culture is the woman has a certain role and she believes the man needs to have a certain role and he believes the same thing, what's wrong with that? It's only because we have our Western values or what the West has become that we try and put those values onto somebody else. And if it's wrong, well, they're misogynistic, they're chauvinistic, they're sexist, they're a woman basher, they're all sorts of horrible things. But that's only because it's different in the West. So why is it different in the West? Well, we have this culture of feminism. We've all heard about it, we all hate it. So that's come into our culture and there's been a blurred line between equal rights and taking the masculine rights away from a man. And it's been in the media a lot lately, especially with this Gillette ad that came out that pretty much made every man want to cut off his balls and go bury himself in the backyard. But let's put all that aside just for now. In the West, in our environment, in our Western environment, when it comes to women's rights, which bleeds over into relationships, there is this overwhelming sense of entitlement. Now let's just think about it for a second. There is actually no real reason for a woman to be in a relationship with a man. Think back to, say, 100 years ago. The woman needed the man. He went out and he worked, he protected the family, he was the protector of everything. And she needed that because she couldn't go and do that herself. She had no resources to actually go and do that. Let's fast forward to now. She has a huge amount of resources. She doesn't need the man anymore. Well, except for probably having a baby, but even now she doesn't even need a man for that. A woman can stay in a relationship for a set period of years and she can leave and she can take half of what he has. Now in some instances, when it goes to court for those things, it is legit, okay? So let's say they left a couple of friends of mine, they got together when they were in university, they're still together today, it's been 15 years, they've got kids together, they had nothing at the start, now they have houses and they have businesses. So when they separate, yeah, let's split it in half. But that very often is not the case. So because we've given these rights in the West to these women, and we say, look, if you want to get up and go, you can go. And I don't know what it's like in every country. I'm just going to speak from New Zealand because I know it very well. If a relationship ends, the woman can go and get a free lawyer. She can get free subsidies for housing. She can get money if she's got children to wherever the father is. Plus the guy has to give her money in order to maintain a level of lifestyle that has been created. In most cases, by him. To give you a real life example, in a relationship that I was in, after I split with my ex, she was on about $100,000 a year. Now she'd never worked really her whole life, just as a hairdresser here and there. So she was all of a sudden, we were not together and she's making $100,000 per year. What's the incentive to stay together? And even look past that, what's the incentive for the relationship not to work? There's a huge incentive for it not to work. And this here, I believe, that lies the problem with the West. There is no incentive for relationships to work. There's no incentive for a Western woman to stick by a man. Maybe he gets sick, or maybe he can't work, maybe he's going through some problems in his own life. She's not going to be supportive. She's going to up and leave. She can go and live a very healthy lifestyle, find another relationship, live off his money, and basically just continue her life. So let's just flip that over a second and let's just travel all the way over to Ukraine. It would be very, very hard for a woman to do, for the example that I have just explained to you guys. It'd be very hard, it'd be almost impossible. It's in her best interest to try and make that relationship work. When I was over there last, I was having dinner with two friends of mine. Like, there wasn't a date or anything like that. They were just two females that were very good friends of mine. And we started talking about trust, and I don't know how the topic of conversation got to this, but we were talking about what happens if a guy cheats, because it's well known that men in Ukraine have a problem with infidelity, and whether it's because there's so many beautiful women and they can get a younger one, and when they get tired of this one, it's a video for a whole other day. One of the ladies was divorced, the other one was still married, and she had a child. And she was explaining that, like, the men cheated and all that sort of stuff. And I said, well, if he cheated on you, you'd want to know, right? And she said, no. And she had the most confused look on her face when she told me this. And I said, why not? Then you can choose to leave him. And she said this to me. She said, why would I want to leave him? We have a child together. This was absolutely mind-blowing for me, coming from the West. To hear a woman say, why would I want to break up my family? Why would I want to know this? And I asked the other lady that was there, and she agreed. She says, I don't want to know. Now, I'm not saying that this is right at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is right. I don't believe in people cheating on people. I don't believe in people being abused, whether it's emotionally, whether it's physically, or anything like that. It was just their mindset. Their mindset was, if we find out something, it's going to break up the family. We don't want to break up our family. We want our family to stay together, even if the guy was cheating. The women over there know that their environment that's been set up around them by the government or by the laws that are there do not fall unfairly into her favour. Whereas in the West, it's unfair. It's unfair for the guys. It can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to court to prove whatever it is that you need to prove. And all of this is done for the benefit of the female. I mean, in some cases it probably is warranted, but in many cases it isn't. In Ukraine, whether it's warranted or not, it's extremely hard to do it. They don't have the alimony or spousal maintenance that we have in the West. Yes, they have alimony. They call alimony child support. So they do have child support. But it is very hard to get money from the guys. Even though there are a few laws coming out in the last year or so that are going to try and make it a little bit easier, the alimony is a very small amount of money. Even by their standards, it's a small amount of money. In the West, it's a huge amount of money. And the spousal maintenance is a huge amount of money. As I said before, one of my relationships, she was now getting $100,000 a year for just being in a short relationship with me. So when you see all these videos and they go on about how she's loving, she's caring, she's nurturing and all these things, I do believe that those are true. But I also believe that the reason that they are so supportive and that they want the man to be the man and they want to have their place to be looked after is because of some of these laws that don't exist there. There is a mentality that the woman doesn't have as much power when it comes to basically screwing over the guy. And that is how it is. And whether it's right or whether it's wrong, in some cases it's going to be right and in some cases it's going to be wrong. But that's just the way that it is. See, my theory is that people will adapt to their environment, whether they think it's moral or not. If you took the laws that we have in the West and put that in Ukraine, would the woman change? Would they adapt to take advantage of some of those laws? I think the sensible answer is yes. I think they would. If you could sit down a woman that has screwed over a man in the West and gave her some sort of truth serum, and asked her the question, do you think it's fair what you did to that guy or his businesses or anything like that? Do you think it's fair? If she was telling the truth, the answer would be no. But because it's legal, it's fine. It's almost encouraged. It's almost like after it's happened, there'll be some hashtag Go Girls going up and everybody would be patting this woman on the back because she took advantage of a system and she got something out of it. I believe that if you change that environment in any other country that doesn't have that, I think it would become like the West, and that would suck. So maybe if they do change some laws in the future, in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, whenever it gets to that point in time where it feels like that needs to happen, I think that the stereotype that the Ukrainian women are caring, nurturing, will always stand by their man through thick and thin, I think that may go away. But at the moment, lucky for guys, where there is still a little bit of salvation, we can still look there and hopefully we can still find something that we would consider to be a traditional relationship. So those are my thoughts. I just wanted to share them because you see a lot of videos about this sort of stuff, but they don't really sort of go deep into it. And maybe it's because they haven't thought about it, but I doubt it. I think it's more just it's easier to say that it's something running through their veins. It's in their blood. It's just in their nature. Well, some of that is true, but like I mentioned, people evolve to adjust to their environments around them. Those are my thoughts anyway. What do you guys think? Put it in the comments below. And if you like the video, make sure you subscribe. I've got a whole bunch more coming out as well. And I'll see you next time. And guys, just one other thing. If you are thinking about going over to Ukraine to see if it is possible to find love in a country other than your own, pretty much the same way that I went and did it, it can be daunting at the start. You don't know who to trust, where to go, or what to do. So we've created an online community of guys, just regular guys that went over and did it. Maybe they failed, or guys that went over and they were successful, or guys that are thinking about doing it. It's a place for guys to go and share their experiences and give advice and try and help other guys that are looking to do this. It's about being able to try and identify legit places to go, because as we know, there are a lot of bad things that are going on over there, but there is also a whole heap of good stuff as well. And by coming together, we can share the good and we can avoid the bad. It is a completely free community. It will never cost anybody any money. It's really just something just to help guys to try and be successful and to create more and more successful couples between Ukraine and the Western world. Even though we're still in early stages yet, it is growing, and there are guys giving some unbelievable advice in the actual discussions themselves. We're also adding a directory of places that you can go, and guys in the community can rate these places as well, and they can say what's a good place and what's a bad place, places to avoid. So please visit the link in the description below for ukrainefusion.com and come and join us and help to make more and more successful couples.